What's up, guys? Welcome to today's video. Hope you guys are all having a great week so far. So today's video is going to be breaking down, or how I break down deals or comp deals, which is one of the most important things when it comes to not only flipping houses, but buying investment properties, or just representing anyone if you are a real estate agent, to really figure out what the value of your property is. I filmed a video or two about this before, but I want to give you guys a more updated one. And in this video, I'm going to talk about the actual property that we just purchased yesterday, and we actually started renovations on it today. So I figured it's fresh on my mind. Let's talk about it. This is the exact comps that I saw when I broke down this deal. And the big thing now is it's completely different than what it was even 6 months ago, because the way we comp properties right now has to be very, very, very conservative. A couple months ago, beginning of this year, we were comping properties and we were using those comps as this is like the bottom dollar of what it will get. The market's going to continue to appreciate, so it'll most likely sell for even more than this. And that's what happened with 95% of our properties that we listed earlier this year. We'd comp a property, we would have our after renovation value in place, and then it would just go like 5, 10, 15, 20% over that list price. So all that extra percentage was just extra profit for us. But now we're kind of doing the opposite. Now we're like, okay, this house sold for example, 330 3 months ago. So now we have to be a little bit more cautious. Like my ARV or my renovation value for what we're budgeting would be a sell price of $300,000, when 6 months ago it would have been $350,000. So things like that you have to keep in mind, especially in a downward market, which is even more stressful because from when we buy it to when we sell it, we don't know where the market's going, and it's a very, very tough time right now. But as flippers, like, we're not just doing this as a side hustle. We can't just like stop buying properties. We just have to work even harder to find better deals, and that's what we're dealing with right now. And that's actually what we ended up doing on, or what I ended up doing on this deal here. So I talked about it briefly. I gave you guys a walkthrough the other day. This house was for sale by owner, and it was listed August of this year for $330,000. So it's been listed for just, I think, 4, maybe 5 months now, because it's getting towards the end of December here. And he price dropped it at least 10 different times, from 330 to 320 to 315 to 310. A massive price drop down to 275, then he went to 250, then he went up to 252, and he ended up sticking at 252. And what I noticed and what helped us on this property is he gave up. He left the listing pending, so it wouldn't even show up on anyone's search bars anymore. And I knew, like, once he left it there, he just didn't care about this property anymore. He was so frustrated, and I'm glad that I reached out. I was like, hey, I see your property's pending on Zillow. If anything changes, let me know. He never ended up getting back to me, but one day I was like, you know what, let's just call him and see. And he's like, actually, I never changed it. It's on the market, but I left it at pending. So he was getting no phone calls, which was our advantage on that. And we ended up locking it up for $110,000, or 33% below his original list price, which is great for us. We should profit about $25,000 to $30,000 on this if everything goes well, if we stay within our renovation budget. I'm going to figure out how to blur out this address here. But basically, this orange dot right here is the property that we just purchased. And this is the MLS, or My Monsoon, which is what I get access to as a real estate agent. But you can do pretty much this exact same setup on Zillow, and it's what I used to use before I was actually a licensed real estate agent. Zillow works wonders with comping as well. You may not get as much detail, but you can get the majority of what you need from Zillow. So just follow the similar steps that I do, and we'll go from there. I need to figure out where to put myself. Let's just try to go up here, because I kind of need this whole screen. So I already kind of ran a little bit on here, but what I like to do with properties is I like to start pretty big. Or you can start very small too and expand out, but I like to start bigger. So I will always usually comp properties within 1 mile. If you start getting within 2 miles, it can get a little bit dicey, because there's certain neighborhoods that are much nicer than other neighborhoods in that area. Certain subdivisions are nicer. There's certain HOA communities and non-HOA communities right next to each other. So when you start really expanding your diameter when you are comping properties, be sure to really look at that specific subdivision to see if it's any different than these comps. Because you can go from a multi-million-dollar brand new build neighborhood to 1960s builds within a half mile. And if you're comping your property based on that, that's where you can get screwed big time. So I like to do a mile, but I'll still do a little bit more due diligence beyond that. I will start now. It's been a little bit tougher to find comps because there's just way less sales. There's just way less volume going on. So I'll do sold in the last 6 months, but you have to be very careful as well within the last 6 months because the market shifted tremendously. But in order for me to pull like some decent comps, I like to start there. And then I like to do 7% plus or minus square footage, which means if this house, for example, is 1,200 square feet, it'll take 7% above that and 7% below that. And I usually like to comp that pretty well. You can go up to 10%, but then you start getting square footage discrepancies where it may not comp the exact same. So let's start with there. We're going to apply the criteria, and it brought up quite a few properties. You guys can see right here. All these properties are comparable according to Monsoon. I like to make sure that if for Arizona specifically, if there is a pool, it values it a lot more. So sometimes I'll just subtract the pool out of there. This one says it has a pool, so I won't really use it. And then some of these listings, you guys can see right here, this one's super low at $100,000. And it shows non-MLS listing, which means it was off market and not through a real estate agent. I do not like to use those as comps either because, for example, we bought this property under market value and it was off market. So our property will show up as non-MLS. And you don't want to use that to comp an ARV because it can skew the data either upwards, but most likely it'll be way under the actual value of the property. For this example, $100,000. And make sure you're also, this specific neighborhood is a combination of mobile homes and site-built homes. There is a huge difference between site-built and manufactured homes, so you have to be very careful to not comp those properties or mix them up. And yeah, let's go through it. So this is 1,200 square feet on a 6,000 square foot lot. Lot comes into play slightly. Most of the time, if they're in the same area, subdivision, they're all going to be around the same square footage lot, which is pretty much like here. This is the biggest one out of all of them at a little bit over 2,000 square feet bigger, which is not a huge deal. All the square footage, like I said, is going to be within 7%. You have a couple that are bigger here, and then a couple that are smaller right here. And then the most important thing that you want to look at is the sale price and when it was sold. So this one right here, it'll give you 1 through whatever comes up. It goes in the order that's closest to the actual comp. So the further you get down here, the further away from the property it will be. Zillow, I believe, does the same thing as well. So this one's actually going to be one of our strongest comps because it's within 0.38 miles. So it's fairly close, probably within the same subdivision as the one we're looking at. And it also sold less than a month ago, which is a really, really good situation for us. Sold 12.5, so that's a pretty strong comp. And then some of these other ones, like this one sold in August, so that one's not going to be as strong. We have to really take that into consideration. August it sold for 365, so right now it'd probably sell for 300 maybe. The market slipped pretty fast. We have one that sold in October for 365 as well. I also like to look at the age of properties. I will not usually comp a property like this one's a 2003. I'll use it sometimes, but I won't use it as like the main comp because it's just so much newer. It's 30 years newer. So we're going to take that out for now because we have enough data anyways. And then also if it's a newer build, it's most likely in a different subdivision, which is not an equal comp because unless it's like a tear down and then a build up, most neighborhoods are all built at the same time. So you're not going to want to go to a 1960s neighborhood and compare it to a 2000s build neighborhood next street over. You're not going to get as strong of comps. So 1981 is close enough. They all built them around the same time, probably the same builder. 1975 is very close. 1978, 1980. So all these I would consider some decent comps. 367, 365, 365, 342, and $390,000. Let's, for the sake of this video, let's remove some of these ones that are really old. Like this one sold in August, so we're not going to use that. I would use it if we didn't have a lot of comps, but we still have some decent ones here. And then let's remove this one that sold in late August as well, which leaves us with one from December, one from October, and another one from October at 390, 365, and 367. So that makes me think that in the 300 range, even with the market slip over the last 2 months on some of these, 300 would be a relatively safe number. But now we have to look at, okay, so this sold for that price, but what kind of condition was it in? So that's when we go over here. And let's just have a brief look at this property. Some things you want to look at, does it have a garage? Ours does not have a garage. Our garage was actually converted into more square footage. It looks like it has new windows as well. Ours will not have new windows. So this one, Very well done remodel as well. I mean, this is incredible. This is probably going to be better than our remodel. I'm just going to be honest with you guys because our price point is lower than what they got. They didn't renovate their bathrooms, so we got a little win there. They didn't look like they updated their closet doors. Yeah. So they did some things. The backyard looks pretty basic. It does look like it has an RV gate back there, which is a big incentive in Arizona. It's on a decent sized lot. Pretty good renovation. Decent lot size. I would compare our backyard pretty close to this one. Ours has a little bit more mature landscaping, which more people seem to like. Ours is grass, not gravel. That's a benefit. This one's really nice brick construction, so it's a really beautiful curb appeal, nice long driveway. So yeah, this 367 comp, very strong comp, sold a month ago. I don't think ours, if we listed it even a month ago, it would get 367. I think ours, just based on the layout, the floor plan of it, maybe 325, but that was a month ago. We have to take into consideration a month back this sold for, but then we're also not going to list ours for another at least a month. So we have to take that slippage into consideration as well. Decent comp right there. So that's what I usually look at. I'll blast through these. It takes me way less time. Like I just cruise through them. I look at it. So here's another one. A little bit bigger square footage as well. Decent renovation. Looks like the cabinets, looks like it's potentially a flat. Oh no, they got new roof on there too. New AC unit. Decent renovation once again as well. So yeah, this one's pretty nice. They left some of the cabinets or some of the appliances old. They left some of the kitchen light up here is one of those old school ones. The layout's a little bit less desirable than the one we just looked at. So I like this one too as a comp. It's a 2-bathroom as well. You have to really look at the amount of bathrooms on these properties as well. You never want to comp a 1-bathroom with a 2-bathroom because that can change it 30, 40,000. Nice looking backyard though. Yeah, once again, this is a nice little comp that we can use at 365, but this one sold in October, so we have to keep that in mind. That one would probably sell around 325 right now. And then let's look at this final one down here. This is a little bit further away, so it's a little bit newer as well. This one, once again, comes with a garage. Garage value is hard to determine, but I like to say an extra $10,000 if you have a built-in garage. We don't have a garage at all. We don't even have a carport, so that's something we have to take into consideration. Looks like there's some popcorn ceiling here, a little less desirable from that. This one's not nearly as renovated as the other ones. Yeah, man, you got the pretty outdated kitchen here. So yeah, let's just blast through these real quick. Nice backyard though, and it goes to a green belt in the back. It looks like it may even be a golf course, and this is hard to put a price on because if someone really likes that, I really like it personally, I would pay a premium to be back here. So it's hard to comp that because there's not really a set number. Someone can just overpay it because they really like that. And especially since it has direct access back there, that's a huge incentive. So I can understand why it sold for $390, and it sold almost 4 months ago. So that market slip, once again, low 300s. I think this would sell for right now. That's basically how I got the ARV of $300,000. We're gonna have to have a pretty decent remodel, I think, to yield that $300,000 because some of the negatives of the house is the floor plan and just the flow of the property is not as convenient as the ones that we just saw. Our neighborhood, our neighbors, it's like a mix of mobile homes, so it might not be as desirable, but we're targeting like to be the lowest single family detached home in Mesa at $300,000. So you have to look bigger picture in certain situations like that. Like, okay, let's look for a single family detached home within the entire Mesa area. Is there anything that's listed at 300? And if there's not, if we're the cheapest one, then yeah, it's not the best way to comp, but it's also like if someone needs a home less than $300,000, they're coming to us because there's nothing else available. So we're looking at that as well, just the overall Mesa area. We're considering a couple other side notes. We are tapping into extra square footage. So we will be at 1,340 square feet by the end of our renovation, which will obviously give us a lower price per square foot and allow us to bump our price up a little bit more if we wanted to. What I think we're going to do though is keep our purchase price the same, and it'll just show up a little bit better. It'll show up as 1,340 square feet at $300,000, which looks even nicer. So a couple benefits to us on that. We bought it with the knowledge it was 1,200 square feet, but we could expand on it to 1,340, which is an additional 120 square feet. And let's just go, for example, on here. I know this is going to be more than $150 a square foot, but if you do 150 times 120 for the square footage, that's an additional $18,000 in potential captured square footage that we can add to the list price. But it doesn't always work like that. It depends on the utilization and the desirability and the functionality of the additional square footage that you are adding on there. So it doesn't directly correlate to like, oh, it's 120 extra square feet, it's $150 a square foot these are going for, like let's just add that up. It doesn't necessarily correlate directly. But that's it, guys. Hopefully this video was able to help you guys out. This was like a most random video today. I've been pretty busy this week with the close on this property. There's a few other things as well. I'm following up with all my past clients this year. I sent them some gift cards and some handwritten letters to show my appreciation on working with me. By the way, I'm a licensed real estate agent, guys. I always forget to mention this, but I'm licensed in Arizona. A big goal of mine in 23 is to work with more of you guys on the buy and sell side. So if you guys know anyone that wants to list or buy a property in Arizona, I will somehow get you involved and make it beneficial to both of us. If you guys do send over any referrals, I would I'd really appreciate it, as that's a goal of mine to sell more real estate on the traditional side as an agent. Drop a like, drop a comment, drop a video suggestion down below if you guys want to see more videos like this. It might be a little boring, it's a little long. And then, yeah, I think I already said follow me on TikTok and Instagram, but I appreciate it, guys, and I'll see you soon.